Hey everybody, check this out. This is a pouch for a hatchet and a bow saw. Now this is a 100% homemade El Cheapo pouch out of pretty much stuff that I had just laying around the house. And so I'm going to show you step by step how I built this. And then we're going to take it out and test it. So stay tuned. Kind of a fun project we're going to do today, and then we're going to take it and go out in the woods. But a little bit of talk first. All right. This is a Baco Laplander. This is a silky saw. Now these little folding saws are very popular now in bushcraft. People love them, and this is basically a crafting saw, shelter building, maybe, you know, processing a little bit of firewood for a cooking fire. Now when you want to go and get a little bit bigger fire, like whenever you want to heat a shelter overnight, you're going to need a little bit bigger saw. So that's where a bow saw comes in. The problem with bow saws is bow saws can be kind of bulky and kind of heavy. Now this one right here, this is a very small bow saw. You could carry it if you wanted to. I think it's got like a 12-inch blade, but to me this is really not that effective. You could carry it if you had to, but for the weight it's too small. And usually they have a blade protector to keep from snagging everything that clips on the blade. Right. So they got these big gigantic bow saws here, and they're really effective. But the problem with them is the bulk and the weight. So a lot of people, what they will carry is the standard bow saw blade. I think this might be 24-inch, I'm not real sure. But this thing, a lot of times you can put a piece of plastic on the blade right there to protect it. And you can carry it that way. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a combo pouch for a bow saw and a hatchet. This is a bow saw, very old bow saw. Now a lot of bow saws will kind of come down here at an angle, if you'll see. And I don't really like that, because if you've got a big enough log, once you get deep enough in the log, you're going to lose some of this here because this thing is at such an angle. So for me, I like to have it to where this is almost parallel with this, so that when you have the depth of the log, you can use the full length of the blade. Now this saw, look at the condition of this blade. See that? How old and rusty it is. That was the condition that this thing was. Now I paid $2 for this saw when I bought it at an estate sale, and it had that blade on it. And then I wound up finding this blade, an actual Baco blade that fit it. I found it at the bargain bin for $1. I couldn't believe it. So, but I don't have a protective cover for this thing, and I don't have anything for any way of carrying it. So I thought, I'm going to make a pouch to carry this. And then I thought, while I'm at it, I bought this little hatchet years ago that doesn't have a sheath, and I thought, how about if I make a pouch that'll combine the two of these? So that's what we're going to do. And these little hatchets are handy because, like the infamous Nessmuck trio, a hatchet was a part of that trio. And this can come in very handy, because sometimes you just got to chop. You can't saw everything, but between a hatchet and a saw, that's a good duo right there. So we're going to try to breeze through real fast. I'm not going to get real in detail on the sewing and the making of the pouch, but what I'm going to do is basically just kind of show you each step as we go. And then we're going to carry it out in the woods and give it a try. All right, sound good? All right. Let's go to the other room now. Now I'm not going to get real in-depth on this as far as showing dragging the steps out, but I am going to show each step of how to make the El Cheapo covering here for the saw and the axe, or pouch. But now I always keep this clear packaging. Okay, now most of this clear packaging is made out of either polycarbonate or a high density polyethylene. Either way, this is some pretty tough stuff. But I always save all this stuff. I have a big box full of all this clear plastic material, and I use it in sheaths and things. And so what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this and some duct tape in El Cheapo fashion, and I'm going to make something that's going to protect the cloth from getting ruined by the blade of the cutting tools. Okay, so just stick with me. It's going to be very cool when I get it done. Okay, so I'm going to cut some of this stuff up and make it fit this before I start on the cloth part of it. Alright, the first part of this right here is just a simple step. I just bent up some plastic and duct tape it together, and as you can see right here, this just fits right in there. Alright, there's your protection. That's what protects the cloth. Now while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and I bent up another piece for double the protection, and I'm just going to slide that inside there, and I'm going to tape that on the inside right there so that it's even doubly protected. Alright, so because nobody's ever going to see this anyway. All that thing does is keep you from cutting your cloth. Check this out. This is a piece of packaging that I got that was from a Christmas present, and you got to think like a lazy man. This thing will slide right in through the side, but all you got to do is cut it off here and fold it over, and you've got a little pouch for it. Alright, and I'm going to show you how that looks here in a minute. Just cut it off and fold it over and tape each end. You can see here what I did is I pretty much just cut this end off, and then I cut and folded the end so that now it's just like a little box, just like that. See, isn't that cool? So now what I'm going to do, I'm worried about the sharp ends right here, not really worried about the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to bend a couple of little pieces for extra protection on the insides right here, and then that piece will be done. This piece is like twice as thick as some of the other packaging, so all you got to do is cut a little piece and bend it, and then what you want to do is you want to fold it over on the outside just like that. Okay, and then put a little piece of tape on to hold it here, put a little piece of tape on here, and then see what that thing's going to do is that edge is going to slide up against it right there. So I'm going to tape it to the inside. See that? Isn't that neat? So that's an extra edge protection right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side right here. I don't know if you can see or not, but I've got these pieces inside. And see, that gives extra protection right here for the wall, and I folded over the ends right here to catch the end. So let's see if I can put this axe in, give you a view. See, goes straight in just like that. That's exactly what I want. Now this don't make much sense right now, but it will after we get the cloth over everything. Now this is a pretty heavy Cordura type fabric, and I got a whole pile of it right here left over from when I made a tent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this here and I'm going to try to see if I can find a piece big enough. And what you want to do, the first thing that you want to do is where the saw is going to be, you want to make a pocket for it. And I think this piece will work perfectly right here. So I'm going to sew together a pocket that'll work with this length and this width, and then I'll show you step by step what you do to it to turn it into a really nice pouch. First thing you want to do, you got a piece of material rough cut out, and you've got your saw sitting in here just like this. Alright, so what you want to do, and you want to take into account this angle right here. So the first thing is you're going to fold this over a couple of times just like that, and sew it so that you've got a nice thick edge, and then you're going to sew a zipper on one side. Alright, now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this at a slight angle so that it'll be angled, it'll be tapered down for my to fit it better. If you'll see right here, I have this thing triple stitched. I got it folded over twice so that I've got a nice edge, and then I've got this zipper sewn to one side. So what you want to do now is you want to try to determine, if possible. Now it's very helpful that this is at an angle. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to determine as best as you can how this zipper is going to land at the top. Alright. So you're going to fold this over, and you're going to, this is the hard part, this is where you're going to have to try to determine how much material you can fold over twice and then sew this zipper on. Alright. Now the cool part about this right here is if you have to, you can do this, and since this is tapered, when you go to sew the ends, you can sew, you got a little bit of movement since it's tapered. In case you mess up, you can sew it more towards that way or this way. Alright, makes sense? Kinda. Alright, so I'm going to sew that part next. And then we're going to, it's like we're making a bag out of it. I said I wasn't going to get real in-depth on this, but I think this is a neat little trick that'll really help you out if you're doing something similar to this. Alright, now you saw where I put the zipper over here on one side. Alright, so I folded this over twice, and I put one thread down through here. Now the trick to this is what you want to do is you want to fold it over, and you want to fold this over just like this. Okay, now a lot of people will put things together with needles, but I use these little clips. And so what I do is I clip this in. Let's clip that, and then I'm going to lay this over here. Okay, I'm going to put a clip on this end like that. Alright, now what you want to do is you want to unzip this a little ways, put a clip right here, unzip a little ways more. Now this can come in handy for a lot of your little pouches and things that you'll be creating. Love these little clips. Alright, and then you just unzip this like this. Just like that. And that will keep you. See, now you just take this and just throw this out of the way, and see, look at that. Ta-da! That's how you sew the other half of the zipper on. Isn't that neat? What I've got is I got half the zipper here and half the zipper here. So what we're going to do is flop it over here, and then we're going to sew it together. Zip it together. Let's see. You have to kind of hold it while the ends aren't done. Alright, so let's zip it up. So basically what we have now is like a tapered pouch. So what we're going to do is we're going to double check here to see that we're pretty close. So let's slide this in. Now see, we're pretty close right there, because we don't want it too tight, because if it's too tight it's going to be hard to zip up. And as you can see on the end here, so we got a little bit of room right here to where we're going to be able to turn it inside out and sew it. Alright, then we're going to have our zipper up on the top. Now, before we sew up the ends, what we want to do is we want to be able to open it back up so that we can sew a pouch on the end. So basically, we are going to sew a pouch on here. I'm going to sew some kind of a pouch on here that's going to hold this, and then some kind of a way that's going to secure this shoved up into there. Alright, so I'm going to cut some fabric out and sew a pouch on that this thing will slide into, and that'll be the next step. Isn't that cool? I got a piece of material cut out here, and I folded it over twice and folded it over once here and put a seam around it. I don't know if you call that a seam or a hem. I think a hem. But anyway, basically, let's see, this pouch is going to wind up somewhere right in here, so I'm going to have to figure out where to sew it on. Now, before I do that, I bought a roll of webbing, 1/2-inch webbing, and then I bought a bunch of buckles, Fast-Tex buckles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a Fast-Tex buckle sewn on. I'm going to have one sewn on right here, and then I'm going to have one sewn on here, And then that's going to go to a pocket down here that's going to keep this held inside here. So before I sew this on, I'm going to put 2 of these buckles. I'm going to put this end on this pocket before I sew the pocket on. Okay? Makes sense? You can see these things are sewn on. And it's easier to sew it on before you sew the pocket on. Alright, so now comes the tricky part. You have to try to locate exactly where to sew this on. Alright. I'll probably do that tomorrow, and then we'll pick back up on this tomorrow. Now I've got this pouch sewn on right here. This will slide in. And now at the end, when everything is done, I'm going to put some glue inside there and slide the pouches, the protective plastic part inside. So now that that's done, make sure that our hatchet fits. Alright, so what it does, what we're going to do now is I'm going to take another piece of cloth, and I've got some more cloth that's even thicker. And I'm going to double layer this cloth right here so that this the end of the axe won't wear it out. But pretty much what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a piece of cloth here on the end that'll fold over like this, and it's going to hold the axe inside here to keep it from slipping out. And then I'll have some of this webbing sewn on it that comes up to here, and that's how you're going to secure it in. Pull this over and secure it. So I got this little patch of cloth here sewn in, and it's double layer. It's got some really serious material on the inside. That way this won't rub it off. So what I got to do next is I got to figure out exactly where I'm going to sew this thing so that it'll hold it on. And then I made 2 more of these things right here that are going to clip in here. And then I'm going to have to figure out where to sew them on. That turned out a little bit long. The pocket's sewn on. And all I did is I just sewed across the end. I sewed it, I triple stitched it. Alright. So next step, I'm not even going to put the saw back in because this seems to lay flatter this way. And I'm just going to put this in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up on this until this thing just barely lifts up. Like that. I got these things sewn. I'll pop these on. Like that. Alright, then I've got these clips. Got a couple of clips here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up till it just barely comes on. Let's pull that like that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a few stitches in here. Let's move this over so it looks a little more symmetrical. Alright, I'm going to put a few stitches in here to see if I got the length right. I'm going to put a few stitches in and then wrap it around the saw, and if it is good, then I'll sew it up solid. So I sewed these on with 1 stitch because I wanted to see if it would work. And in the design process, now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, these probably should have been down here because this axe can still slide around this ways. But I got to thinking about it, and what I can do is when I go over there to sew these back on, I can sew this piece here and underneath here and here. That way these will slide up under here and it will lock it into place. Alright, keep it from moving around. Essentially turning this into a pocket instead of just a flap. Alright, it'll make more sense here in a minute when I sew it. Alright, so back to the sewing machine. Just sewing this, and I sewed it here, here, and here. So that what I can do is if I have to, by some reason, these will slide out. But there's really no reason to, because what I'm going to do is when the axe goes in, the hatchet, slide this up, pull these over, lock them in. See, now, perfect. Can't go nowhere. So what I'm going to do now is before I sew it up, I'm going to put some webbing here on the back side so that I can attach it to my pouch. And I'll show you in a minute how I'm going to do that. So now that this thing is like this, alright, now one of the keys to this, before we sew the ends up, is on the side of my Alice pack here, I've got these places for Alice clips. So in case I want to strap it to the side, I want to put somewhere right in the neighborhood of probably about right there. So what I want to do is I want to put it on the back side right here. Now one key thing that I want to note on this is you want to make sure that when you mount it upright that the axe will be on the bottom. And the other thing is you want to make sure that the zipper is not turned up the other way, because as you hike the zipper can come undone. So what you want to do is you want to always make sure when you make a pouch like this is you want it upright so that the zipper will fall down. You know, it'll stay down from gravity. It won't work its way down from the top. So put a little webbing here. Webbing sewn on here, and it is pretty much just like the Alice. I've even got it spaced 10 inches apart so that this thing will fit right. See how it lines up? I can carry it like that. Alright, so now the next step, let's move you down here. The next step, what I want to do is I want to estimate. We're going to close the ends up, and there's a neat way of doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to estimate here. We're going to look, we got about a 1/2 inch on each side. So instead of having these raw edges right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one side first. Now the way you do that is you turn it inside out. Well, actually what you do, can you see this end right here? You turn this end inside like that so that the raw edge is in, and then you flip it over just like that. And so you sew it from this side. That way when you flip it over, let's see. No, I was about to do that wrong. It's got to be flipped over this way. Like that. Just like that. Because this is the inside of the pouch. So you want your raw edge on the inside. So I'm going to sew one end, just as a guess, and then we're going to shove the saw in from the other end to try to get the overall length of it to close it. So this is it turned inside out. As you can see how that seam looks? I triple sewed it. So all you do now is turn it inside out. And see, you've got a real nice looking edge. So what's left now is you lay it normally like you would, and then you want to put the zipper in here. Let's zip this up. Alright, can you see it there? And then you're going to take your saw, slide it in from one edge, just like that. Alright, and then you're going to look at it. You're going to see how much room you've got right here. Now say I got just enough to do a seam just like I did on the other end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this inside out and put a seam on this end, and it should be completely done then. Alright, isn't that cool? The back side of it done just like I did the front. So now all that's left to do is turn it inside out. Okay, so it's got a real nice looking seam on it now. I haven't learned a proper sewing terminology between hem and seam. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this thing fits, and if it does fit, I'm going to put some glue on the bottom of this and shove it in. So let's cram this in here. And cram this in here. Yep, looks like it's a perfect fit. Take this, slide it in here, like that, and zip it up, and there you go. Looks like it's done to me. Alright, I'm going to glue that in, and then I'm going to glue the plastic piece in here, and then we're going to take it out and test it. Alright, so we got the pack outdoors, and we've got the bow saw hatchet pack completed. Alright, now we're going to attach it to this Alice pack, and then we're going to go out and walk around for a while and see how this thing stays on and how it feels, and if it flops around, and if it's easy to get to. Alright, so we're going to attach this thing right here. I'll give you a little bit closer view of it. This is an Alice pack. Alice packs have webbing all over them, and the things you add to them are held on by Alice clips, for those of you that don't know, but it's basically a little spring-loaded clip that holds equipment on. The newer equipment has molly webbing with like Velcro and stuff. So now remember what I was saying here about when you design this thing, you want it to where the zipper stays down at the bottom. That way gravity will hold it down to the bottom. Because if you have it up at the top, you'll have to have a zipper pull attaching it to something to keep gravity from letting it fall down. That and the sheer fact that there's a pocket here that the hatchet's in is going to work. So let's see if I can do this. What you want to do is take all these Alice clips and open them up and put them on. Just like that. I don't know if this is the right way of doing it or not, but this is how I do it. You take it, you slide it up on, pop the clip, you slide it up on, just like that, and pop the clip. Now see, the webbing is pretty much lined up with the webbing of the pack. And then I'm going to pull this over, put this on, just like that. And we've got one more. So there's 4 Alice clips that holds this on. There you go. Alright. Now how's that? Now let's put the pack on and see how it feels. Pretty good so far. Now I need to see I got to flop around with it like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go hike through the woods and the mud and the muck and see how it looks. I also have, just as a note, I got a brand new pair of muck boots for Christmas, and I've never had a set that latches off at the top like this. Isn't that cool? They're regular $100 and I bought them at Cabela's for 60. I couldn't resist. Alright, so let's go walk around out in the mud a little while and see how this thing works. Well, so far so good. It seems to be attached still. See if you can see it. My boots are doing pretty good. My feet ain't cold yet. What is that? Whoa! Look. Look at the moss on that. You know what that is? Do y'all know what this is? This is a match case. And there's something inside here. I gotta set the camera down and open this up. Look at all the moss on this. Look at the moss on that knot. Man, that thing's been there for a while. Look inside this thing. Match case doesn't even unscrew anymore. Let's see what's in here. Oh no, I dropped it. Oh, this says this says go spiders. I don't know what that means. Let's see what this other thing is in here. It's a little glass thing that says go spiders. I'm gonna put it right back where I got it. This is so cool. This thing's been here for so long, I don't even know what it is. You never know what you're gonna find out here. I put it right back where it was. I hope one day I can find out what the mystery of that is. That is so cool. Alright, let's go over here somewheres where I can take this stuff out. So I can kind of see. I want to see how well I can unzip this thing. And instead of just unzipping it and taking the hatchet out, I want to be able to see. I want to see how I can do it with gloves on. These are the thickest gloves I ever wear. I usually wear Nomex gloves, but I'd like to see how it'll unzip with the gloves. There's a tree right here. It's relatively dry, so I don't mind strapping my backpack to it. And we're going to see how this thing works. So it hadn't come loose yet. So let's turn this camera around so I can attach this thing to this tree, and then we're going to pull the saw out. All right. Now see what I'm talking about? This whole wet, muddy area, and here's a little patch of dry right here. So that's what I'm looking for. So let's take this thing off here. And I'll show you how to do it. Grab me a couple of bungees. Wait a minute, where's the small ones? I think they're over here. Yeah, there they are. Alright, so what I usually do is I take these bungees and I clip them right here on the frame, like that, and like that, and then attach it to a tree. See, just like that. Now we're going to go over here and get our saw out. Put my gloves on and try to get the saw and the hatchet out. Alright, first things first, and like I said, normally I wear my Nomex gloves, but these knuckle gloves are about the thickest gloves I wear. So I'm going to try to pull the hatchet out with my gloves. So, reach down here, no problem. No problem. Give it a lift, and there you are. Yeah, I got my hatchet out. Alright. So that's good, that part worked. On these little hatchets in these muddy areas, you can take this lanyard right here and you can put your hand through it like that and either lift up and grab it, but if it's too loose, you just give it a twist and a grab. Not bad for a little hatchet. I would rather have a big one, but if you have to, this will do the job. So let's see how easily it goes back in. It goes in this way. No problem. Now the zipper part should be easy. Zip it up. And there's your saw. I'm so happy. Works out great. All right. No problem there. There's this place that's called the, I think it's the bargain bin, or the something, dollar bargain, bargain bin, dollar bin, something I can't remember. But what it is they get all the lost and returned shipments from Amazon. And I found this Baco blade for $1. And I got the saw for $2. So you're looking at a $3 beast. So let's see how it goes back in. Wait a minute. I'm going to show you from the straight on point of view. Can you see inside there where that plastic piece is I made? You just set it down at the bottom and drop it in. Now, see if we can zip it back up with it attached to the tree. Alright, that is a winner in my book. Alright, so it's time to wrap the video up. Now if you look on here, it ain't too bad. It just got a little bit dirty. But then again, if a person is worried about getting dirty, they shouldn't come to a place like this. They should go to Chuck E. Cheese. So, I hope y'all had fun. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I certainly did. Lots more adventures to come up in 2022, hopefully. Y'all enjoy life, get off the couch, do what you want to do in life, and we shall. See you in the next one.